All right, welcome. My name is Josh Casillas. I'm a student on board specialist at the Welcome Center at Santa Monica College, which we're located on the first floor at 1900 Pico Boulevard. And I am here with my coworkers. If you'd like to introduce yourselves, please.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Adrienne Johnson. I'm a student services assistant at the Welcome Center. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Dina, if you'd like to introduce yourself, please. We're very fortunate to have you here.
Unmute myself. I'm the Santa Monica College staff interpreter here.
Thank you very much. So let's get started, Adrian.
Okay, so in today's presentation, these are the list of items that we're going to go through. So we've already conducted our introductions. We're going to give you a bit of information about what is SMC Promise, what are the basic eligibility requirements, what are also the program requirements, the benefits, how to regain eligibility just in case if you do fall out of status. We'll also speak about the SMC Promise special consideration. And at the end of the presentation, we will have a Q&A session. Josh, you're muted.
I sounded great, didn't I?
You
What is
did.
SMC Promise? Thank you. So SMC Promise Program, the Santa Monica College Promise Program, or as we like to call it, SMCP in short, potentially provides up to 2 years of free college for recent California high school graduates or a GED graduate who are directly attending SMC, which is Santa Monica College, as a first-year college student with the potential to also qualify for other benefits. Students must meet the basic eligibility criteria and complete the SMC Promise requirements to receive the benefits of the SMC Promise program.
All right, so now that you know what the SMC Promise is, what are the basic eligibility criteria? So to be eligible for SMC Promise, you must be a recent grad from a private or public California high school, or you have received your GED. You must be a California resident or an AB 540 student. You must be attending SMC as a first-year college student, and that means you've never attended college before. You must have your FAFSA or DREAM application on file with the SMC Financial Aid Office. So this point right here is extremely important, and so we're going to touch on it in a future slide. We'll go more into detail. And lastly, you must be attempting required units for this fall and spring semester. Again, we'll go more into depth as we go through the presentation.
SMC promise requirements. There are two major promise requirements. If you're eligible, the first one we're going to look at is the financial aid requirement. So when you apply for your FAFSA, there's a school code that you need to enter, or you can type in Santa Monica College. The school code is there, 001286. If you're filing a DREAM Act application, the school code is very similar, but it's 00128600. Or once again, you can just type in Santa Monica College. You can type in up to 10 different or include 10 different schools in your FAFSA or DREAM Act application that you want your information to go to, but we know you're going to attend Santa Monica College, so make sure you put that first. The FAFSA or DREAM Act applications must be completed annually, once a year, and prior to the beginning of the student's first semester of attendance of the new academic year to qualify for the SMC Promise benefits. What this means is you should file your FAFSA or DREAM Act application once a year. I would highly recommend you complete it by March 2nd because there's other grants that you potentially may qualify for that if you complete that by March 2nd, you may be put in that pool to qualify for that. So we need to have your FAFSA or DREAM Act application the first semester that you qualify or you're eligible for the SMC Promise, and you have to meet that requirement. That's what basically it's saying. In order to become eligible for a California College Promise Grant, or we like to call it a CCPG fee waiver, which is different than the SMC Promise. A CCPG fee waiver, students must qualify through their FAFSA or DREAM Act application. When you submit your DREAM Act or your FAFSA application, the SMC Financial Aid Office is going to review your file and determine if you also qualify for a CCPG fee waiver basically a CCPG fee waiver pays for your classes. Your classes are called enrollment fees. Okay, we're going to go in depth more in a future slide. Anything like to add to this, AJ?
Yes, just make sure you do get a head start with the financial aid application. There's sometimes there could be some hiccups, maybe if you forget to add SMC to the financial application. And if you hit submit, it won't be received by our financial aid office. Let's say if you forget to put your social security number, or you make if there's any error with the spelling of your name, or if you have a hyphenated name, that way, the sooner you do it, you can catch on to that. And that way, it'll be a smooth process for us to receive it at the SMC financial aid office.
If there's any questions at any point with your financial aid, you can always contact the SMC Financial Aid Office. AJ, let me just jump on this one too. This is what it looks like for your Coursera Connect. When you log onto your Coursera Connect and you click your SMC Promise, this is what you're going to look at. Since we're talking about the financial aid requirement, you're first going to look at your SMC Promise eligibility. It is green. It'll say eligible, and it gives you a brief summary of what is going on. For example, this is for this upcoming spring 2025. It says you still need to complete and maintain the requirements below to receive the benefits. And then it tells you the important thing is you're currently responsible for your enrollment fees and student fees. So if we look below, the financial aid requirement is incomplete. It informs you also you need to complete your FAFSA or DREAM Act application for this spring semester before April 27th, 2025, which is the requirement deadline. In addition, we are going to speak about this, but below here, you can also see that the enrolled units is also incomplete. The student's requirement is 12 units, but they're enrolled in 3 units at this point in time. And the next slide, I believe, is going to show a financial aid has been received. So if you look at the top, it gives you a brief message, but we look here, it's green. It says completed now. Santa Monica College has received your financial aid application. And below that, the enrolled units has not been completed. It's incomplete, 3 out of 12 units. Anything you'd like to add to this, AJ?
Yes. So you all have access to Coursera Connect to check your SMC Promise screen, and this is what you'll see. So it's so important that you know how to check it. That way you can be informed and updated as to what your SMC Promise status is, and also if you do need to complete some of the tasks. So let's say that you did fill out the financial aid application and it's still red. I highly suggest that you reach out to the financial aid office just to see, to see if they do have it on file, to find out if there's anything on your part that you have to do to make sure that we do receive that.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. So what is the SMC unit requirement? So students must enroll in 12 units, or if a student does need an accommodation for reduced units or a reduced course load, you can get that by going to the Center for Students with Disabilities, and you'll make an appointment with the DSPS counselor. And so they will determine what your unit requirement will be. So again, students must enroll in 12 units, or if they have a unit reduction, by the requirement deadline. So the requirement deadline for spring is April 27th, 2025, and you must complete these units with a passing grade. Passing grade for SMC Promise, it's an A, B, C. You could even pass with the D or a P for passing. So once you complete your unit requirement, it will roll over to the future fall 2025 semester. So you don't need to opt in again. You're all set to go as long as you meet those requirements. So this is really important. So for the summer and winter short-term semesters, it is optional to attend, and students must meet and complete their SMC Promise requirements in order to receive the benefits. So what that means, if my requirement is 12 units, it will show on the summer and winter SMC Promise screen 12 units. Most students will not qualify for these short-term semesters because, again, you do have to meet that unit requirement. So if you are going to attend during the short-term semesters, you do have to pay out of pocket. We're going to go more into detail for students who do have to pay out of pocket and students who are also receiving the CCPG, which is the California College Promise Grant. So again, it is optional to attend. If you don't attend for the summer or the winter, it may not potentially affect your eligibility requirement. So again, if there's any students in here today that you think you may need accommodations for a unit reduction, please go make an appointment. Visit the Center for Students with Disabilities. It's located in the Student Services Center on the first floor. They're across the way from the Welcome Center. So if you need the website, I suggest, if you could take out your phones and take a screenshot. So the website, www.smc.edu/DSPS, or you can send them an email if you need more information, and that's dsps@smc.edu. Josh, would you like to add anything?
No, I'd just like to reiterate what you just stated. Summer and winter semesters are optional to attend. If you are receiving a CCPG fee waiver from the financial aid process, that will at least pay for your enrollment fees or your classes, but you will still have to pay out of books for your student fees, books, material, supplies. That would be it for me. Thank you. Go ahead with this one, Adrian.
Okay, so we're talking about the SMC promise requirements. So this student, we did receive their financial aid application. However, they still need to enroll in the unit requirements, and you must be enrolled in those units by April 27th, 2025. And again, you do have to pass those with passing grades. So again, if you are missing this requirement, you can go speak with an academic counselor if you need any guidance with selecting courses. You can come in person. There's drop-in visits, no appointment necessary. There's also the Q-list line, and this is where you'll input your first name, last name, callback number, and an academic counselor will give you a call back. Josh, would you like to add? Are we good here? All right, and this is what you will find in Coursera Connect when you're meeting all SMC promise requirements. If you look at the top, there is the blue SMCP badge with the little green check mark. It's showing you're eligible, and it's so important to please read all of the information that's in each of the sections. So once you're eligible, congratulations, you're part of the SMC promise, and it'll show the term for spring 2025. You do not owe any fees as long as you complete your required units with passing grades. And students will also receive a fee postponement until June 17th, 2025. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a future slide. Again, this student is meeting their requirements, financial aid is complete, and the number of units are also complete. Again, the important date to meet those requirements is April 27th, 2025. Josh.
Yes, just to point out the bottom there, where we're focusing on all the requirements. You can see as in the feature slide, the student was missing their unit requirement or enrolled units, and you can now see you're currently enrolled in 12 out of the required 12 units. And it still tells you to please enroll in the required number of units by that date and complete with passing grades. So that'll remain on there just to give you a notification because some students add or drop, but you want to make sure you're enrolled in your units by that date and time. That'd be it for me, AJ. Go ahead and take the next one.
Okay, so again, student is eligible. So the difference with this slide, this student, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, everyone. So this student did receive reduced units. So they went to the DSPS office, they made an appointment with the counselor. And so for that individual, their units requirement is 6. So it could be more, it could be less. It's based on, it's case by case. So for this student, they must enroll in the required number of units by April 27th. 2025. And another thing, even though the unit requirement is 6, or if it's 12, you can also add more units. So you're not limited. That's just the minimum to be eligible for the SMC promise. So it's either the 12 units or whatever reduced units you are approved for. Josh.
Very good, AJ. No, just make sure as AJ did state earlier, make sure you read every section of this. On the top, this student is meeting their all the requirements, for this spring semester. They are also being told they qualify for an SMC Promise book voucher, right? So that's because they're meeting the SMC Promise requirements and they're part of SMC Promise and they're also receiving a CCPG fee waiver. We will go into that in a future slide, but this gives you that information there. And once again, when you meet the requirements and you become meet the requirements and become receive that SMC Promise badge there, you automatically receive a fee postponement for the current semester and potentially for the future semester if you complete your requirements by the 27th and pass your classes. That'd be it for me on this slide. Thank you, AJ. So let's go into the SMC Promise benefits. What are the benefits of meeting these requirements? SMC Promise benefits. So we look at this graph. On the left-hand side gives you information on what the fees are. So the first one is enrollment fees, basically your classes for fall and spring. Each semester is $46 per unit. For 12 units, that's how much it equals there, $552. So if you're meeting the SMC Promise requirements, that will be waived. And if you complete them by the requirement deadline for this spring semester is April 27th, you will get paid out that. You don't get paid out, it actually goes towards your file and you don't have to pay anything out basically. The student fees are below. Associated students, student benefits, health, student representation. All those also will be covered by the SMC Promise if you're meeting the requirements and you pass the requirements by April 27th with passing grades at the end of the semester. So on the bullet points below, there's several important factors to this. You get, as we did say earlier, you get a fee postponement for the current and future semesters. So once you're eligible for the SMC Promise, you complete your financial aid, you enroll in your unit requirement, you will get a SMC Promise fee postponement for the current semester. It usually takes about 24 hours for it to show on your Coursera Connect, but it will be on there. That means you don't owe any fees for the current semester. And what it, excuse me, what it also does, if you meet the SMC Promise requirements by, for this example, spring 2025, April 27th, deadline, you'll get a fee postponement for the future semesters, which is next fall 2025. And if you decide to attend also summer 2025, you will qualify to regain eligibility. Once again, if you meet the requirements, financial aid, and your enrolled units by April 27th, 2025 for this spring semester, you qualify to regain eligibility. We're going to show one slide of an example of how to regain eligibility if you fall out. You get priority enrollment for future semesters. Okay, that means you get to select your classes first. How great is that? We know classes do fill up at SMC, so you'll get that benefit. You also qualify for a potential refund. So the way this works is, let's say you enroll in classes, you're eligible for SMC Promise, you enroll in your classes, but you haven't submitted your FAFSA or your DREAM Act application. You submit that after you had to pay because the payment deadline came before you met the SMC Promise requirements, so you paid out of pocket. If you meet your SMC Promise requirements, we receive your financial aid, and you're enrolled in your unit requirements for this spring semester by April 27th, 2025, you will potentially receive a refund. Okay, that's how that works. Also, for students that are part of SMC Promise and receiving a CCPG fee waiver via the financial aid process, you qualify for up to $3,000 in book vouchers to be used at the SMC bookstore only for books, materials, and supplies. We're going to break down how that $3,000 works. You get reduced parking pass from $50 to $18, but you also must be receiving a CCPG fee waiver. You get a complimentary Go Pass Metro Tap card for the future or for the current semester. And also, if you meet your requirements by the deadline, once again for this spring 2025 is April 27th, your SMC Promise automatically rolls over to the future summer, which is optional, and fall 2025, which you do have to attend to maintain your SMC Promise. It'll roll over as long as you meet and complete the requirements. The fall and spring semesters are mandatory, and you have to meet your SMC Promise requirements on those semesters for your SMC Promise to roll over to the future semesters. Anything you'd like to add, AJ?
Nope, that was perfect. Okay, so we've been talking about the CCPG. What exactly is that? So the CCPG is the California College Promise Grant. It's a fee waiver that covers enrollment fees only. So this is processed through the financial aid office. And this is not, we don't handle the CCPG. And it is based on residency. So you do have to be a California resident or have AB 540 status. It's based on income. And when you do fill out that FAFSA or DREAM Act application, it gets processed at the same time. So there's not a separate application that you need to fill out for that. So what it does, it pays for, like I said, the enrollment fees, and these are your classes for an entire academic school year. So that's for the summer, fall, and the spring semesters. So how I was saying on a previous slide that SMC promised that we do not cover the summer or the winter. If you do have the CCPG fee waiver, it will cover your enrollment fees for the summer and for the winter. You will have to come out of pocket for those student fees that we showed on the previous slide. The difference between the CCPG and SMC promise, there is no unit requirement. There isn't a minimum. So if you do take a class during the summer or the winter, you do not have to take 12 units where it does not require that. There isn't a minimum requirement. And again, it does not cover the student fees. So SMC Promise, it's not dependent on a student's financial need. And it will cover the enrollment and the student fees for the fall and for the spring semesters. And it is potentially up to 2 years. With the CCPG, as long as you qualify, you can be eligible. So let's say you successfully completed the SMC Promise program, but you'd still need to take a couple more classes. If you do have the CCPG, it will cover your enrollment fees. And I think that's about it, unless you want to add anything else, Josh.
That was perfect. Thank
All
you.
right.
The SMC Promise book voucher. So students that are part of SMC Promise and meeting the requirements must be eligible by meeting the SMC Promise requirements as stated, and also receive a CCPG via the financial aid process. Those two would equal an SMC Promise book voucher. You get up to $3,000 for an academic year. The way it's broken down is you get $1,000 for fall and then $1,000 for spring. And then if you qualify, once again, most students are not going to qualify for the short-term semesters to meet their SMC Promise eligibility. The maximum amount of units you can enroll is 8 units, unless you have a DSPS unit reduction or you met with a counselor and they allow you to take 12 units during those short-term semesters, you're not going to qualify. But if you do, it's $500 for the summer and then $500 for the winter. Once again, they're optional to attend and you must meet the unit requirements. The SMC Promise book voucher can only be used at the SMC bookstore. There's their website there. It covers books, material, and supplies. If you go in person, you can pick up your books, material, and supplies. If you order online, you're only going to get your books mailed to you. The material and supplies, unfortunately, you're going to have to pick up. You also qualify for potential refund. The way that works is, let's say you're not meeting the SMC Promise requirements yet. Let's say you're missing your financial aid, you're enrolled in your units, you're eligible for SMC Promise. You go on the bookstore, you pay for your books, you keep the receipts, and then you become eligible and meet the requirements for SMC Promise because your financial aid was submitted. Now you're getting the badge on your Coursera Connect. You can show your receipt to the SMC bookstore, and they'll give you a refund for the books, materials, and supplies that you paid at the bookstore. Anything like that to that, AJ?
Nope. Let's move on. Okay, so once you look into Coursera Connect and you see that you are eligible for the book voucher, how do you use it? So to use it online, you must create an account at the SMC bookstore webpage. So you want to add your books to the cart. And then once you're on the checkout screen, you want to select the A/R charge. And this is for, it'll say SMC Promise. So you'll click on that. And also another thing, you do have to use the vouchers by the deadline. So the deadline is May 2nd. Once that deadline passes, it does not roll over. There's no way for you to access that. So if you do go in person, the bookstore is located on the main campus. So once you get to the bookstore, you want to head to the back of the bookstore and go to the book information counter. So once you're there, please have your SMC ID number, your class schedule, and a photo ID. So you'll show that to the staff member. You'll get your supplies, your materials, your textbooks. Once you do have that, you'll go to the front of the bookstore at the cash register. You'll let them know that you're part of the SMC Promise. Your name will be on file. Again, that's located at the front of the bookstore. Again, you notify the cashier that you're part of SMC Promise. So if there's anyone here that is eligible for a book voucher, and if you're having any issues using your book voucher, please contact us. You can send us an email or you can come visit us in person, and that way we can, see, and we will resolve the issue for you. Josh, anything else?
No, that was great. I was thinking of something, two things. Yes, actually. One is AJ did present you with the date of when your SMC Promise book voucher ends if you are eligible for that. If you go on your SMC Promise Coursera Connect, this information is going to be on there. If you're part of SMC Promise and you're meeting the requirements, you get that badge on your Coursera Connect. At the bottom, it'll also give you a green light and tell you that you're part of the SMC Promise, and you're also receiving a book voucher. It gives you the dates on there on your Coursera Connect when your book voucher is valid through and from. Second thing, if you qualify for it and you paid out of pocket, you can only get a refund during those dates. Okay, you cannot get a refund after the SMC Promise book voucher date expires. So just those are the two things. Once again, sorry, I did want to also reiterate any questions with anything. We're talking about book vouchers now, and AJ did mention that. Send us an email. Send us an email with your name and your SMC ID number. We'll go into your information and find out what the issue is. I will put our email address on the chat here. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
How to regain eligibility. SMC Promise requirements. So deadline for the spring 2025 is April 27th, 2025. So students that will qualify to regain eligibility are only students that met the requirements by the requirement deadline for this spring of April 27th, 2025. So the basics of regain eligibility. Students can make up the units during the subsequent short-term summer 2025 semester and potentially regain eligibility for the fall 2025 semester. Let me take a step back. This is for a student that's going to be enrolled for this spring 2025 semester. This is what's going to apply. If they meet the SMC Promise requirements by the requirement deadline of April 27th and then drop below their units. They attempt their unit requirement and did not complete their classes with passing grades A, B, C, D, or P for pass. You do not need to make up the same class or classes. You only need to make up the number of units to meet your unit requirement. And we're going to go into a couple examples here shortly to show you how that looks as an example. Oh, perfect. This is what it looks like for students who qualify to regain eligibility. If you drop after the requirement deadline, you'll still be eligible at the top. Your financial aid has been submitted, and it will say incomplete on your enrolled units. It will say you're currently enrolled, for example, 8 out of the required 12 units. That means this is for me, an example, last fall semester, I dropped 4 units. Out of my required 12, it'll tell me still, please enroll in the required number of units and complete with passing grades. This is what my Coursera Connect will still look like if I qualify to regain eligibility. If I didn't qualify to regain eligibility, the top would be red and would say incomplete. Here's the example. If you'd like to go ahead, AJ, and take it.
Okay, yeah. So students who qualify to regain eligibility. So let's say that I'm enrolled in 12 units for this upcoming spring semester, and I drop a 3-unit class. So what do? I immediately go speak with an academic counselor, and after we decide the best course of action, and that's to drop the class. I'm going to drop it after April 27th. And that's the SMC Promise requirement deadline. So since I dropped the class after that deadline, I can potentially receive a W or a letter grade on my transcript. So at the end of the semester, I'm only completing 9 out of the 12 units, and I do pass those with an A, B, C, D, or pass. The key thing about this is that I dropped after this date and not before. So because I dropped after this, I can automatically regain eligibility for the fall 2025 semester. Are we good? Oop. Okay. So So because I did drop that class during the winter, over the summer 2025 semester, I'm going to enroll in any through unit class. It doesn't have to be the same class. I'm just looking for the units because I can combine my 3 units from the summer with my 3 units from the spring, and that will equal the 12 units. So I made up those units, and I did it with passing grades. So once my grade is posted on my transcript, I will automatically regain eligibility for the fall semester. So there's nothing that, as long as I do pass those grades, the system will pick it up and I'm automatically reinstated into the SMC Promise program. And how will I know that? So we will send you all a confirmation email, and it'll be sent to your SMC student email. So it's so important to always check your SMC student email account. All right. So how do I check my grades? If I took this made up units over the summer, how do I check my grades? So you log into Coursera Connect, and on the left-hand side, you want to click on student records. And so right here, it'll show you this screen, and you want to click on your unofficial transcripts. So your transcripts, that's just a record of all of the courses you've taken and the grades that you have received. And then while we're on this page too, when you're Coursera Connect, it provides you with so much information. If you look on the left-hand side, there's a link for SMC Promise. There's also a link for financial aid. And at the bottom, the little envelope, you can check your SMC email, and you can do this all through Coursera Connect. Josh, anything else?
That's great. Good job, AJ.
Okay.
So this is the email, the automated email that you would receive that AJ was describing earlier. If you make up and you do the regain eligibility, it will tell you, for example, congratulations, you have successfully completed your summer 2025 courses. This compliment has allowed you to regain eligibility for the future fall 2025 semester. So there's the automatic email you would get if you met and completed the regain eligibility criteria and accomplished that mission, so to speak. The basics of regain eligibility, we're still on that. However, if a student does not pass their subsequent summer 2025 class or classes or decides not to make up the units altogether, they will fall out of status and lose their eligibility to receive the benefits of the SMC Promise. They will not be able to participate in the SMC Promise for future semesters and will be held responsible for all enrollment and student fees moving forward unless they have a CCPG fee waiver, as it states in yellow down below. The CCPG fee waiver will cover your classes or your enrollment fees. And you will receive a letter that will say you're out of status. You can read it'll be automated. The email will say you attempted, but you did not regain your eligibility because you didn't complete your classes or you didn't meet the units. That's the email you get automated to your SMC email address. So here's something that's really important. It's called the SMC Promise Special Consideration. If you attempted to regain eligibility or you fell out of the SMC Promise or you did not meet the regain eligibility criteria, anything of that nature, we're going to go into this. We review the process to potentially gain eligibility for students who, and these 4 points are extremely important, they're straight to the point, are no longer eligible or you're ineligible for the SMC Promise, did not meet the SMC Promise requirement by the deadline for this spring, once again, April 27, 2025. So if you don't meet your financial aid or units by that requirement, you qualify for SMC Promise Special Consideration. You attempted to regain eligibility and did not recover your SMC Promise, or you have extenuating circumstances. We have many students that have extenuating circumstances. They had an accident, they got injured, they had to provide for their family, etc., etc. Those are extenuating circumstances. It does not guarantee that you will gain your SMC Promise eligibility, but your file will be reviewed to potentially get you back in. Once again, our email address is there to request a special consideration. Always send an email, include your name, your SMC ID number, a brief description of what transpired or what's going on. We don't need to see doctor's notes. We don't need to delve deep into personal matters. We just need an overall idea of what is going on. Be proactive. Always reach out to us. That's the key. Be proactive. Reach out to us, and we're always willing to take the approach. We take the human approach to help you and get you back or help you retain your SMC Promise status. Anything like that, AJ? We're moving forward.
No,
Okay, cool. This is an example of a student who qualifies for special consideration. This student here, it says they're ineligible. You're no longer eligible. This was for last fall example because let's say I'm the student here. You look below on the enrolled units. I only enrolled or completed 9 out of the 12 required units before October 27th. I didn't meet that deadline, or I didn't have the amount of units. So it gives me the information up top saying I'm no longer eligible for fall. And then I'm thinking, oh, I don't even qualify to regain eligibility. I'll reach out to the Welcome Center and tell them, hey, I fell out of fall. This is the reason. How can I get my SMC promise back? Unfortunately, if this is your status here, you will have to pay out of pocket. For this student, it says you currently owe student fees, which means they have a CCPG fee waiver because their enrollment fees are paid for. So luckily, this student has a fee waiver, but they will have to pay for their student fees. Once again, if you don't meet your SMC promise requirements, you will not get paid, and you will eventually owe your enrollment fees and or your student fees. Anything like that to this, AJ?
Yes, if I can add one thing. So let's say I did not meet that April 27th deadline and I'm enrolled, I complete and pass 9 units. Let's say I just go ahead on my own and I'll take a 3-unit class. This is why we do have the special consideration, because the system will not pick it up. The system will not add that. Let's see, this is from the fall. It won't add the 9 units and it won't add the 3 units. So this is why that date is so important, and that's why we keep repeating it. So please, if you're going to drop a class, please reach out to us as soon as possible. That way we can give you some direction as to what you can do.
Thank you, AJ. That's great. Student who qualifies for special consideration. So this is another example. This is for this upcoming current spring. This is what a student would see. You're ineligible for the SMC promise for this spring 2025. You didn't complete the requirements in fall 24, which is way back last semester. And then it shows here why you may qualify to regain eligibility. Please contact the Welcome Center. So you can always go back on your Coursera Connect, go back to fall and find out what you were missing. Were you missing your financial aid, or were you missing your unit enrollment requirement? Anything like to add here, AJ?
Nope. Let's go on. Okay, so this is our contact information. So you can take out your phones, take a screenshot, our email address, welcomecenter@smc.edu, include your full name, student ID number. This is our telephone. If you'd like to give us a call, 310-434-8101. And this is our website. And so we keep updated information on our website. Every semester, we're updating it. When we have these information sessions, the information is always on our website. So that's also something really handy to check out for any updates that we do have. And good luck to you all. So the spring semester will start next week. So good luck, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And so now we will have our Q&A session. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you for that, AJ. So at this point, if you have any questions, you can type it in the chat. We'll read it out and say it out loud. Other students may have the same questions as you do. So if somebody is willing to do it, feel free to do that. If you don't feel comfortable with that, you can always chat with us separately, privately, and we will attempt to answer that question. It's best if you raise your hand or put it in the chat. We read it out and then we verbally exchange the answer. That's the best method to do this. From our experience, you have us now. It'll save some phone calls and emails. So if you want to ask questions right now, we can answer them. There may be some limitation, just to let you know, if it's very specific to your file, we may need your SMC ID number, and we may ask you to send an email to the Welcome Center so we can do that in private and review your file and find out what your status is or anything of that nature. So at this point, we'll open it up for questions.
Okay, so we have a question. Do book vouchers carry on from the last semester? So unfortunately, no. It shows the time period to where the book voucher is valid once that date comes. So for the spring semester, May 2nd, once May 2nd passes, the book voucher, you won't be able to access the book voucher anymore.
That's a great question. That's something we usually cover in this seminar, but I think AJ usually gets that one. That's a great question. The next question, what do you recommend a student does if they need a course, but it's full and they're already on the wait list? So this is something I would highly recommend you speak with an academic counselor, okay? All we need you to do for the SMC promise is meet the requirements by that requirement deadline. So, for example, let's say I'm a student, I have 9 units, I'm enrolled in excuse me, I'm on a wait list, um, um, or I'm attempting to get 3 more units. If I'm a wait list, I'm not sure if I'm going to want to wait for that. I may just enroll in another 3 units that will benefit me in my academic goals or my personal goals and just try to get that in there. Because there's not a guarantee if you're on the wait list or if you're not on the wait list that it'll open up and you'll be able to enroll in that 3 unit class, then you're going to potentially fall out. But I would highly recommend you speak with an academic counselor or a specialized program counselor if you're part of any programs like EOP&S, CARE, Black and Latino Center, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully we answered your question on that.
And and if I can add, sometimes students have been very successful if they reached out to the professor and if they call it crashing a course if you show up on the first day, because sometimes students do drop the class. It's not guaranteed, but it's something that you can do. So I'll put in the chat, there's a directory for faculty, so you can try to send an email to the professor to see if they may have any open spaces.
The next question is very similar. Students enrolled in 11 units, but they need 1 more unit to meet the requirements. What can you do? You're going to have to get a 1 unit class. I'd highly recommend speak with an academic counselor. I know there's 1 unit classes such as like physical education that you can enroll into. Sound body, sound mind, right? So that's something you really need to speak with an academic counselor or your program counselor. We, for SMC Promise, we need you to meet the requirements by the requirement deadline. We don't have any control over that. That's the California legislation that has that information there set in our program. Hopefully we answered your question. What other supplies, materials are available with the book voucher besides books? So pencils, pens, rulers, markers, things of that nature. You can always ask the SMC bookstore what is covered. So they should cover things of that nature. You can always ask them what will be covered. We do have $1,000 for this spring semester and fall semester. So hopefully books are usually half of the price of education, right? And the materials. So if you have any questions further on that, you can ask the book store to be more specific on that. But usually it covers pencils, pens, rulers, and periodic tables, things of that nature. Another question. Yeah, I had planned on crashing some of the courses on the first day. Yeah, that's great. Great advice. They're called crashing, as AJ did state, and that's your option of doing that. But you always want to have a backup plan and a backup plan to your backup plans, right? That's just the way to be thinking ahead and be proactive. Great questions, everybody. Great questions. We had a question at our last seminar, which was yesterday. A student had a short-term class during the full-term semester. Usually a full-term semester, for example, this spring, it's around 14 to 16 weeks. Within that full-term semester, there are short-term classes that'll be example, it'll start the first week and it'll end at the 8th week. If you go on your enrollment screen, it tells you when your class starts, on what days and time, and how long it's for. This student was concerned because they have an 8-week course, and that course is going to end before the requirement deadline of April 27, 2025. So long as you complete your requirements and you meet that class with passing grades, it's okay if it ends before that requirement deadline. Those units will count. So that was a great question we had. We also will have other SMC Promise information seminars towards the middle of the semester before the requirement deadline. We'll focus more on regaining eligibility, and we'll go into more examples. All other information on regaining eligibility, requirements, everything, benefits is on our website. You can always visit our website. We also have videos on our video library. We do record these and they live there. Great questions.
Yeah. And when in doubt, just reach out as soon as possible. That way we can give you some guidance and some direction.
And we're really proactive when it comes to our emails and phone calls. We have a quick turnaround to respond to those. We like to stay on top of it. So since we have such a high volume of students, and we just want you to stay on top of it and reach out to us and make sure you read those emails, because we do send mass emails for these events to show up to these seminars. We regain eligibility seminars. We tell you about tutoring. We also inform you if you're missing requirements. We inform you if you're missing financial aid. We inform you if you're missing your units. We send you mass emails. We send you SMS. Sometimes we call you, say, hey, you're missing these requirements. Please meet them by this requirement deadline. So we do our best to retain you and keep you part of SMC Promise. Now you just have to do your part. Now's a great opportunity to ask your questions. Don't be afraid. Throw it in the chat. We'll give it about 1 more minute. If there's no more questions coming in, then we're just going to end this session. But feel free to jump in. This is the best time to ask your questions and the clearest way to ask your questions. It does take a lot of work to send emails back and forth. We're extremely specific. What we do is when we return emails, we include your screenshots from your specific Corsair Connect so you learn what to look for. That's what we basically look at. When you ask us a question, we first go to your Corsair Connect SMC Promise to get you that answer. We have another
We have a
question.
question. How do we know we'll be in the SMC Promise program?
So if you go on your Corsair Connect, you get a badge. There's a badge that says SMC Promise on there if you met the requirements. It'll first be green if you're eligible. It'll say eligible in green. Then you meet the financial aid, the unit requirements. When you meet those two, you get that badge, the blue circle, yellow, with the green check mark that says SMCP. That means you're part of the SMC Promise and you're meeting the requirements. If you have any questions about your status, check your Corsair Connect SMC Promise, or you can also email us. Once again, we'll take a screenshot and send you and give you the information, what your eligibility is, if you're meeting the requirements, if you're missing something, or if you also qualify for a book voucher, dates, and all that good stuff on there. It's all on there. Once again, that's what we check. That's
Yeah.
what we actually check is your Corsair Connect.
And also to all of the slides that show the SMC Promise screen, we took that from Corsair Connect. So you'll see something similar to that. If you're missing requirements, if you're meeting requirements, if you're eligible for the book voucher, so it is in Corsair Connect.
That's a great question. You're welcome. And once again, now's a great time to ask questions. If you forget your question and you want to ask us later, send us an email, welcomecenter@smc.edu. Include your name and your ID number, or you can call us 310-434-8101 and leave your name, your ID number, and a callback number. Many students don't leave a callback number, so sometimes we just don't know what our call. We can call back what it shows up on our ID. Sometimes it's not the right number.
Yeah, or you can come to the Welcome Center.
Stop
Come
by.
give us a visit.
Say hi to AJ
Yes.
and everybody else. So if there's no further questions, I'm going to stop recording now. And here's another question. Nice. You got me right on time. What if we already have a fee that is due? Will the SMC Promise take care of that fee, or will it have to for the semester? So if you are meeting the requirements, if you go on your Corsair Connect and you have that badge, the SMC Promise badge on your SMC Promise Corsair Connect, that means you're meeting the requirements. Once you meet those requirements, 24 hours from the day you meet the requirements, we receive your financial aid and you're enrolled in your unit requirement. The next day, it's going to tell you have an SMC Promise fee postponement. Also, in that top area below, on top of that, it will say you will not owe any fees so long as you meet and complete the requirements below. On some of the fee screens from Corsair Connect, there's going to be some fees on there. But on your main landing platform from your Corsair Connect, it'll say you have a fee postponement. And also on your fee screen at the bottom, it will say you have an SMCP fee postponement in red. If you have any questions about that, if you owe fees, if you think you owe fees, you can send an email to the Welcome Center at smc.edu, include your name, your ID number. We'll review your file and we'll explain what to look for with the screenshots from your Corsair Connect and if you do or do not owe any fees. Great question.
Thank you guys. Thank you all for being here with us. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you all for attending. We appreciate your attendance. Hopefully, you have a successful spring semester. We are here. We're here to help you. Do not feel afraid to reach out. On behalf of myself, AJ, and Dina, our ASL and DSPS interpreter, we thank you for attending the SMC Promise information seminars and have a blessed day. Thank you.